Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. My name is Dave Savage, CEO of Mortgage Coach, and today as my special guest and lifelong friend, I have Cindy Ertman. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Dave. It's so great to be here with you guys always. Thanks so much for having me.
It's fantastic to have you. You are always an awesome interview. Folks, if you did not listen to the last interview I did with Cindy, it was called the
Seven steps to seven-figure mortgage success.
There we go. Cindy completing my sentences already. For those of you who didn't know it, that was one of the top 10 interviews of 2017 last year. So must watch. I think it was only a 20-minute interview, but there was like a lifetime of value in that call. So do make sure you check it out. If you are part of our Facebook mastermind group, I actually shared a link to it this morning. So it should be top of the feed of the Mortgage Coach Mastermind. Really, guys, fantastic interview, great conversation, tons of value in that. So Cindy, for folks that don't know your story, and this is like the first time they're, who's Cindy Ertman and why should I spend an hour listening to you? If you could just tell everybody a little bit about your backstory and anything that you think is kind of on point for today's conversation.
Absolutely. Well, like many of us, I've been doing this for a very long time, just hit my 30-year mark in the mortgage industry. And really, at a very young age, I just decided there was no point in me reinventing success. So I just started seeking the best teachers, trainers that our industry had to offer. And even when I didn't have time to do it, I went to conferences, I sought out great leaders, and I just studied them. And I started implementing slowly but surely new practices and new habits, and ultimately drove my business to my highlight year, which was 200 million in personal production. So worked very hard to build teams, to build processes and systems, so I'd only have to define it once and then be able to replicate it over and over and over again. But I think at the core of my personal success is really around connection. And so, now fast forward 4 years ago, I left running a branch of 65 people. I left running a region in Southern California. I still have a production team, but my mission has been now to serve, coach, teach, train. And so I run a coaching business, primarily coaching mortgage professionals and helping them grow and be successful in many areas of their mortgage life and their personal life. So that's really my commitment, and I really teach people how to connect on a deeper level, because we're in the people business. We think we're in the mortgage business, but we're here to serve people and to change lives, and that's what I'm very committed to help other people do.
I love that. So whether this is your first 18 months in the mortgage business, whether you've been in the mortgage business for a long time, but you're not kind of breaking whatever that feeling is for you, you're somewhere in the middle of what success means to you. Or if you're on this call and you are killing it, I am telling you guys, this is a very special leader in our industry. There's not a lot of people that have broken that 200 million production point. I mean, that's a very rare thing that happens. And it's even more rare that someone has transitioned from that level of success as a team leader to being a branch leader, a regional leader, and now she's also an amazing coach that you guys can connect with. So take notes, pay attention. So Cindy, before we get into the connection piece, which I do think you are unique at, like anybody that's met Cindy, you feel like you're the most special person in the world. Her, just the art and science of how you connect. I think I'm looking forward to taking notes, because while I've interviewed you a lot of times, I've never actually interviewed on that. So I know I'm gonna get takeaways. But let's talk about success before we do that, because just the concept, it means different things to different people. I know you have some philosophies on that, and I would love to start with what is success and then get into some tactics to use connection to do it better.
Well, I think for success for me right now, obviously, success shifts, I think we'd all agree, over the years as we begin to change and evolve in our own life. But a success for me right now is actually much more about fulfillment. And I coach a lot of top producing mortgage originators throughout the country, and I see a lot of people in our industry right now actually not feeling very fulfilled in their own life and their own business, because this is a tough business. I mean, it's really transitioned again this year, just when we think it can't change anymore, and interest rates pop up, and we're faced with all new challenges and very low inventory across America. So I think we're facing new challenges. And so I always look at, what does success mean for us as individuals? And ask yourself that question. What is it really? And when someone comes to me and wants to get coached around doing 2 more loans a month, I can absolutely help you do that. We do a lot of tactical trainings around how to increase our business and our productivity. But at the end of the day, it's like, what are we trying to create in terms of the life experience that we want to have for ourselves, for our teams, for our businesses, for our families? So it's kind of a collective. So I look at success as what really brings us joy, happiness, and fulfillment in our lives and our business. And it's a collective process. So in coaching, teaching, and training people, it's around looking at the totality of our life. And, one of my favorite questions is, if you fast forward your life 10 years from now and your life has not changed, your business has not changed, are you happy, satisfied, and fulfilled in your life right now? Because if you're not and you don't create change, you're going to be in exactly the same boat. So I love to help people do a deeper dive around what success looks like for them and what brings them joy, happiness, and fulfillment. What do you love about the mortgage industry? What are you passionate about? And really help you go deeper on exploring that part of yourself. So that's what success is to me. It's really about living a very fulfilled life.
Love it. Love it. So guys, I have put on the screen, sharing my desktop. Right now you are seeing some of the other interviews I've done with Cindy. If you go to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel and you type in Cindy Ertman, it'll pull up the interviews that we've done. So if you want to learn more about what she shared in our community, check it out. Also, before I do that, I wanted to remind folks that we've had a couple big weeks in Mortgage Coach land. So if you have not watched that Scriptpalooza call, it's right here in the pole position of our best videos of 2018. And I also wanted to remind folks, I did an interview last week, I think it was Wednesday, it was 6 days ago, with Shane Kidwell. This guy was, full-time fireman, part-time loan officer, 2nd year, and he's killing it. So he had a lot of great tactics on rate shopping. And by the way, Cindy, you'll love it, because I know this is one of those guys that the way he connects with people and the way he shows up is special. So anyways, check that out. So what I'd like to do now is get into what I would call our formal interview, where we're going to talk about connection. I know, Cindy, you sent me some slides, so I'll do my best to follow along with you as I go through these, or as you go through these. But let's get into the bigger conversation about connection and how to turn connection into conversion. And I will get these slides working in just a minute.
No worries. Well, in coaching people, and it's really interesting because when you look at the average age of a mortgage loan originator in America today, it's actually 55. So, but interestingly enough, so many people have been in the business so long, and yet probably the number one question I still get is, I call realtors, I get a meeting, and I honestly don't know what to say when I get there. They're not quite sure how to exit the meeting and get another meeting. And we think it should be so basic and so simple, but I really started being very intentional over the last couple of years about how I began to lead these meetings, because I still go out and make rain for my team, and I call realtors, and I go into meetings with referral partners. And I started, to go in and talk about ourselves, which is what most of us do. We get concerned about, what's our special sauce, and what kind of great products, pricing, programs do we offer, and what can we bring forth to, let's say, a realtor partner that's going to be of value. And that's all great stuff. But, the thing is, until we develop a relationship with these people, I feel like it really falls flat. So in teaching people how to stand out from the crowd, I think the number one thing I can say that I have learned to do is to go in and connect on a deeper level very quickly. And that's a key thing if we're going to build our referral partners and increase our lead generation. So what I started doing was putting together a process last year. And I started playing with this as I went out to meetings, and it was about really asking quality questions and going into that meeting with an intent to not share really anything much about myself and really nothing about my business or my company. And I know that's very counterintuitive for most people. It's actually a very challenging thing to do, to go into a meeting with the intention of it being 100% focused on the person sitting in front of you. So I started going in, I started preparing, I call them quality questions that we can ask our potential referral partners, but really with a very genuine desire and intent to get to know who they are in their business and certainly in their life. So let's fast forward to the next slide, Dave, if you can.
Hey, Cindy, one thing I want to mention before we continue, and I know you do this. I was having a conversation with Renee Rodriguez a couple days ago, and it was prep before an interview, and he talked about how a lot of people, a lot of loan officers, when they go into a meeting, their number one goal is to be liked. Like, I want to be liked. And how it's such a powerful if we go into that meeting with the goal of liking that person. And I know that's something that you just do naturally, but I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Just the concept of just changing your mindset when you're going in to meet with someone and, you know, not about you, but about them.
It's 100%. And I think we go in our heads typically, I mean, myself included, you know, you're concerned about what am I going to say next? You know, what's the outcome I want to create? And I do go into meetings wanting to have a particular outcome. Usually it's to get a second meeting, because I usually find it's in that second meeting that, you know, we can sort of cement the relationship, if you will. But I think it's a great point. You know, we all want to be liked and appreciated and valued. And we know sometimes we don't feel that way when we're in a first meeting potentially with a realtor. But at the end of the day, when we really turn the energy around, I mean, and we focus on them, and our sole intent in that meeting is to really get to know this person, the whole game changes. And I mean, I've done this so many times now over the last year, that watching the magic that occurs in this conversation is really incredible and so much more fulfilling as a mortgage originator, because when you walk away from this meeting and what I'm going to share, you walk away actually really having a pretty good understanding of who this person is and how their business works and how they think and their family. And, you know, the more you ask questions, the more comfortable I've seen people begin to open up. So, you know, I think it's a great thing to have people really challenge themselves to kind of switch their mindset and go into this meeting saying, I really want to like them. I want to learn about them. This meeting is not about me, and it's not actually about mortgage. Our intent is to go in and begin to build a foundational relationship with this person, because that's what success is. You know, I was on the phone the other day with our dear friend Bill Hillestad, and he's like, you know, the one with the most friends wins. And Tim Brahim used to say that to me all the time. So it really is like, if we're going to spend time on, you know, tactics and strategies and tools and becoming a better originator, spend some time focusing on how you can show up as a better connector. Because yes, part of this is intuitive, but a lot of this is learned and trained behavior over the years and all the personal development work that I've done. So you can learn how to do this. It's really fairly simple, and then it becomes really fun and more fulfilling, you know, when you're in these meetings, and the relationships occur much more quickly, which is what's a phenomenal side benefit.
Love it. Love it. Great advice. And remember, folks, if you have questions for Cindy, feel free to share those in the Q&A part of this GoToMeeting. And this is an interactive mastermind. If you get a quote or a takeaway, feel free to share it in the GoToWebinar control panel, or start a conversation in our Facebook group, Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind. Keep it rolling, Cindy.
Well, this is about getting to know them. You can actually switch to the next slide, Dave. Okay, so really the key, you're going in, as we talked about, to really get to know them. And so your real intent when you go into this meeting is it's about them. So it's all about asking powerful questions. And I am going to give you an opportunity in just a few minutes if you want to get my download on this. And then I've got a training coming up where we're going to go deeper on this. So it's about really creating the conversation with some meaning attached to it. So part of that is to just go in with a general curiosity. You're going into this meeting with the intent to meet this referral partner in a meaningful way, and just take all the focus off you. This is actually a way less stressful way to lead a first meeting, because it's really not about you. Your focus is 100% on them. I do suggest strongly, you know, distractions are so, you know, abundant. So when you go into this meeting, I intentionally take my phone off the table, or, you know, put it in my purse. I don't even have it out, because we're trying to get them to mirror our behavior. So if we're very present with them, they're going to be much more present back. If you're on your phone, they're going to be on their phone. So I just start with being focused and being present. And like to your point, Dave, which I love, it's like make that person feel like they're the only person in the room and you're really there to get to know them and, help create value in the relationship. So there really is a very simple method to this madness when I get started. And so my focus initially is to learn about their business. And I do start in a sequential order. And I do this because it's really easy to remember when I'm going into a meeting. It's a very simple, basically, philosophy at this point for me. So I start with questions about their business. And I normally will just start with, how long ago did you get into real estate? And you will have an opportunity to get these questions. I actually have a deeper handout that has 20 questions about their business and 20 questions about their personal. But I start with their business. I want to do a deep dive on their business and their history. So I ask them about how long have you been in the real estate industry? Now, granted, as they are responding, some of my questions are just extremely organic. So this doesn't come across as a planned script. Obviously, it takes its own path. But, I always find it interesting. Most people don't go to college and decide they're going to be a realtor or a mortgage loan originator. So there's usually a story there that's fairly interesting about what made them decide to transition into real estate and what were they doing prior to real estate. So learning a little bit about that story, because that's usually kind of a cool story about what made them transition to become a realtor or any referral partner for that matter. And then one of my favorite questions to ask them, just because I'm a marketing fanatic, is what are you doing to market your business currently? Because there's so many questions that can come around that, and then I'll go deeper on that question about marketing, and I'll say, well, what's working for you currently? And I always ask them what's not working for them. I ask them what they want to be doing more of that they're not currently doing. I ask them if they're using video in their businesses. I ask them if they're using social media to promote and expand their businesses. I ask them about the current real estate market. What have been the biggest challenges for them in the market, and what do they see occurring in the marketplace over the course of the next year? So I really go deep about their business. So to give you a couple of examples, I had a meeting a couple of months ago with a female realtor that I think we knew of each other through Facebook, but we had not met before. I did use Facebook as a way to start to connect with her. So give you a quick suggestion. This is a really easy thing to do. So I picked several people on, I went through and came up with a list of maybe 10 to 20 realtors that are prominent in my market. And I friend requested them on Facebook. And then I began to do interaction with them. So it's a great way to start getting noticed by some new referral partners, is to actually go to their page in the morning and check to see what engagement they're sharing. If they're sharing a new listing on Facebook, reshare their listing and say, hey, check out, Sherry's new listing at 125 Fifth Street. It's a great way to get recognized when you're helping a realtor promote their new listing. So, or just engage if it's their family, just begin to comment on their posts. That begins to create engagement. And I can tell you, people have done that with me. And usually within a couple weeks, I'm paying attention to who's engaged with me that's new on my Facebook page, as an example. So it's a great way to start to connect with new referral partners in a very non-threatening way and to begin to create some engagement, and people pay attention. So it's a great way to connect initially. So that's what I actually did with this particular agent, is I started engaging with her a little bit on Facebook. And then I finally reached out to get an appointment with her. And I just said, hey, Sherry, you and I really don't know each other, but I think we know of each other. And I've been following you around Facebook. We have some great mutual friends. And I know Tara's a friend of yours and she's a friend of mine. I'd love to grab lunch with you next week if you're open and learn a little bit more about you and your business. And surprisingly, she said, that'd be great. So we went to lunch that day, and I really utilized this strategy around getting to know her. And she is a manager of a Keller Williams office with about 160 agents. So she is a leader in the industry. So some of my questions with her were a little bit different because she's a leader. So I ask a lot of questions about how she transitioned into a leadership role, the challenges around leading that many agents and trying to herd that many cats. There's a whole different challenge that she faced. And I ask them if they really want to continue to build and grow their business. I ask them about their goals. What are your goals for this year? What do you want to accomplish? I ask them what sets themselves apart from their competition. What is their special sauce? When they're going to a listing presentation, what is it they share with that seller that sets them apart from maybe the other 5 realtors that they're interviewing? But these are deep questions that they have to actually think about and give you some very thoughtful answers around. So,
Cindy,
yes.
So first of all, love this. A number of people have asked, what do you say to get the meeting? And I think you answered that. I want to keep going through, just this logical, what do you do during the meeting? So for all you that have asked Cindy how to get the meeting, we'll try to cover that at the end.
Absolutely.
And Cindy, I've set that up for you. If you have more scripts, more strategies. Also, I always ask this question. When I interviewed Jeremy Forcier on his 5 questions that he asked every realtor, when he integrates Mortgage Coach, it's like, oh, communication's important to you? Let me show you how I communicate. And he brings Mortgage Coach into the conversation. What is your, call it, strategy of when you bring in Mortgage Coach and total cost analysis, when, how, and any talking points that might be helpful for folks?
Well, because my new strategy around connection, and I leave everything business on my end kind of out of the equation. So that would come in meeting number 2 for me, Dave. So as Dave knows, my teams have been, avid Mortgage Coach users for years. And I think it's a massive communication tool. Again, it just sets yourself apart. I mean, total cost analysis, to be able to do the loan comparison and walk your clients through it in such a professional manner is just a no-brainer. I mean, it's not an option, in terms of my teams. I've had a couple of different teams throughout the years, and it's definitely part of our special sauce. And it's an amazing tool in meeting number 2 for me when we're starting to get more into, what we can do to provide value for them and their clients. And communication is certainly key. I mean, that's what they're looking for, is consistent communication. And that's such a differentiator even in today's world. So Mortgage Coach, no brainer.
Well, I just want to make sure they know where, and now y'all know it. It's in the second meeting. She's interviewing, she's asking questions, she's learning, so that when she does have that next meeting and she's preparing, strategies, solutions, why us, is part of that. So cool. So let's keep it rolling, because I know, this is where you're kind of going to a whole new level. I've interviewed a lot of top producers, and they all kind of have their 5 questions or their 8 questions. But the way you personally connect, and I think maybe this part 2 is part of what's so special about how you roll. So keep it going.
Well, I'm gonna stick on the business side for just a sec. So one of the things that I do, both when I'm asking questions about their business and when I'm asking questions about their personal life, is whenever they say something unique or different or something that's kind of an aha, really pay attention to that. And even when you're talking to a borrower on the phone, we're so busy and we have to get through so much in our conversations. But when someone tells you something unique, and listen for that when you're asking questions. So like as an example, I was with a male realtor not too long ago, and he was telling me that he had moved his business from Manhattan, New York to Manhattan Beach, California. So to me, that's aha. That's how do you move your business clear across the country, and what did you do to be successful? So I want you to just stop when they say something interesting. And the reason I call it a clarifying question, you're really asking the same question again in a different way. And sometimes it's just a matter of saying, oh my gosh, Jim, that was incredible. Tell me more about that. How did you do that? It's that simple, because when you ask someone a question, particularly in a business setting, you're going to get a top shelf answer. And if I'm driving for a relationship and a connection with you, I want to go deeper. I want to get below the surface to find out how you really tick, who you really are as a human being. And again, that's the intent behind this conversational approach. So I will ask them a second question, and in a different way. So tell me more about that. Oh my gosh, how did you do that? That's incredible. Tell me more. And it's in telling you more, they have to go to a deeper level. They have to tell you from another perspective. And usually that's where some of the gold gets unveiled in these meetings. So just think about that. And even Hunter Marcourt, who who's with RPM Mortgage, one of our superstars, he always talks about those magical moments that you can create when you're on the phone with a borrower and they tell you something unique or something about their family, and stop for a moment and tap into that and acknowledge that moment, and share that as a point of connection and ask questions. It's a great way to get a borrower to open up as well, with a similar sort of strategy and philosophy around asking questions to get to know a little bit more about their story. So I do, Dave, I walk them through all the business questions. Now, on this particular lunch a couple months ago, I asked business questions for close to an hour. Our lunch ended up being 2 hours. And I did let her eat her lunch for a little bit of the time. And then I thanked her, for sharing so much of her business story. I said, I learned so much more about you, and I so appreciate you sharing so much information about your business. And I look forward to be able to, you can, if there's connection points where that, you sort of have similar interest around, whether it be, marketing or one area you're using video, validate that for sure. And they're going to ask you questions too. So it's not like it's going to be totally one-sided, but if they ask me a question, if they said, well, how long have you been in the mortgage industry? So I answer the question, and then I completely turn it back onto them. And I ask them another question. So I don't get caught in my own story, because my intent here is to get to know them. So I asked the business line of questioning first. I thanked them for sharing. And then I said, it's been so great to learn more about your business, but tell me more about you. Where were you born and raised? And I go back to sequentially starting at the beginning of their story, just like I start at the beginning of their business. And so it helps me to remember if I'm kind of walking them through. So I asked them where they were born and raised, and I asked them a little bit about their childhood, and I just take it through, do you have brothers and sisters? I mean, I ask very organic questions, but I do it sort of sequentially. How long? Here's some questions on the screen. I actually have 20 questions in my my major handout, but how many years have you lived here? And so I just go through my questions. So I'll ask them, obviously, if they're where they went to school, did they go to college, what was their major? I will get into asking them questions about, if they have children, and based on the ages of their children, it's a different line of questioning. I mean, for those of us that, when you had young children, or if you have young children now, darn well, like how I had databases created for all my kids' sports teams in my CRM. And that was a massive piece of business for me for many years. Every time I'd go to my son's football game, I'd get another loan. It was crazy. So ask questions about that. I think it's great to really ask about where their kids are in, in terms of their ages, and, do they live at home, or if they're older kids, where do they live, and do you have a close relationship? And I just ask questions about their personal life. And, if they're married, I ask them, well, what does your spouse do? And, what does he think about your real estate career? And does he participate at all? Or is he supportive? And so I just ask a lot of personal questions about their life. But again, I want you to think about having a clarifying question. When they say something unique and different, stop them for a minute and just say, that's really amazing. This latest meeting with this realtor, she shared a very intimate detail about losing her first child after childbirth. And it was a really intimate moment. And I stopped her and I said, I know that had to have been so incredibly difficult. I'm a mom with 3 kids. Do you mind if I ask how that happened? And we had a really magical moment in that experience. I will tell you that in going through this process with them, it's really amazing what begins to occur. And I can tell you that by the time these meetings are done, it's a very different energetic space than when you go in with your, company folder and you're talking about your products and your service and your pricing and what your team can do for them in a first meeting. We're about relationship, we're about connection, and anybody can do this. I've had so many people tell me that they've been integrating this into their business, and it takes them a little bit of time to get comfortable with not it being about them, but it's been a great thing. I was coaching one of my coaching clients yesterday, and he said to me, this was actually kind of tough for me because I realized how much I've been talking about myself, and I need to learn to turn it back over to them. So again, just be intentional, listen for their aha moments, ask clarifying questions. And if something comes up that you want to ask a deeper question on, take the risk and go there, because that's what really, begins to expand this relationship. And the more they open up, the more connected you will become. And, when I get to the end of these meetings, I can honestly tell you that there is a very different level when we go to say goodbye, because they have never sat down with a mortgage originator and gone and had this kind of a meeting. It's not traditional. It's something very unique and different. Most people are in there to sell them something, to get a sale. They want so much for this realtor to give them business. But I suggest that you try to build a relationship with these people first, because I think that's really where you're going to find the gold. And if you make this count when you're meeting with your realtor partners, you will form a much deeper, much more sustainable referral partnership than you've probably known in your career if you're not utilizing any of the strategies to really connect on a deep level.
So Cindy, I now know the art and the science to you, but folks, it really starts from within. And one thing I know about Cindy, I know she is just abundantly grateful, for everything, the challenges that hit, the problems that she has to solve every day, but she's just one of those grateful people. And then she's also super sincerely curious about people. She really does want to get to know these people. So I want everybody to ask yourself, tactically, she's giving you questions, she's giving you her strategy, but I think everybody on this call, myself included, on a scale of 1 to 10, just having a heart of gratefulness, where are you at? I've interviewed Josh Metal a number of times, hundreds of millions of dollars in production, absolutely one of the best, team leaders in our industry. And I know he has a whole team rhythm where they get together in the morning before they do their prospecting hour, and they just talk about what they're grateful about. So Cindy, before we go on to some more stuff here, while I have you on this call, someone that, just lives this abundant, grateful life, you are truly curious about people, help us, either audit ourselves or give us some things that go even deeper than this to actually make us more curious, help us grow our heart of gratefulness. Because if we have that superpower from within, and then we follow this framework, it'll work. But if it's just a tactic and a strategy and it's not really coming from within, it might not be as effective. So any I don't know, exercises, habits, anything that you can recommend for folks?
Absolutely. And Dave, you're right on the money. I am so about gratitude. And before I get out of bed every single morning, I talk out loud about what I'm grateful for. I did it this morning coming into this call. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to serve. And for me, there was a big turning point when I realized that, I'm in a service industry, but when I switched it around in my head and got up in the morning and said, no, who am I here to serve today? It's a different energetic space. And at the end of the day, we have to all understand that we are energy. And so the energy that we put out to people is what allows us to connect. I coach a lot of, top producers, type A personalities that are very strong, that have a tough time even with their teams, because they go in and they bark orders and they want everything done yesterday, and they don't take that time to sort of take a step back and breathe and connect. But it's important that we do that even within our teams. But yes, in terms of practices, the other thing that, I integrate into my coaching practice and help people with is meditation, because, we have such busy, overactive minds and so much stress on us all the time, that creating simple practices, and so doing a 5-minute meditation in the morning. I try to meditate every morning, at least for a few minutes, just calms our mind. And the thing is, it helps our creativity and the ability to create solutions to the problems that we encounter throughout the day. It helps keep us calmer with our team members. I've actually coached people around meditation that have never done meditation that have had life-altering results in a matter of about 30 days in terms of what it's done for them from a stress reduction level and their ability to drop out of their brains. We spend all of our time up here, and you have to really get intentional about making a decision to transfer from your head into your heart. And it doesn't matter male or female, but before I go into a meeting or before I walk out onto a stage or before I do a call like this, I consciously have a conversation with myself about dropping into my body and being present. So next time you're going to meet with a realtor, sit in your car for a second and just say, I always say, use me for my greatest good. I want to be able to connect from a very genuine place with this human being sitting across from me because they deserve that. We only have so much time, energy, and resources. I always say, use it wisely. If, Dave, I was talking to a guy a couple weeks ago, and it was just a exploratory coaching call to see if he wanted to work with me. And he told me that he had met with 60 realtors in the last 2 months. 60. Now that's unheard of almost. And I said, so how many are you doing business with? And he said, well, 2 of them have called me, but I haven't done business with any. And I'm like, that's so much time, energy, and resources that you've utilized, but you haven't built a relationship. I would have much rather had you meet with 10 and go deeper and build an actual relationship so you can begin to have interaction together and to be able to help and support one another. So practices are huge. I mean, we always think about what we have to do more of from a strategic standpoint. We've got to call more people. We've got to connect with more realtors. We've got to get belly to belly. We've got to have more systems and processes. We've got to have better transaction coordinators and LOAs and all that. And all that's true. But if we carve out time every single day to say, I want to connect with 5 people today and focus on income generating activities, which is really around how do we connect in a more meaningful way, your business will begin to switch to kick up very quickly. It doesn't take long once you begin to just put some of this into practice. Next time you send an email to a realtor, write it from a different place. Next time you call a realtor, make it about them.
Cindy, this is so good. By the way, everybody who's asking for slides and, I want Cindy's 15 questions, we're going to tell you how to get those before this call is out. So hold on tight. We're going to get that. But I mean, 2 things, because the question after the question is so important. I'm gonna do this in a minute. Before I do that, I'm big on apps. So I know that I am my best when I meditate, and I have to use either an app, and I use Headspace, and I've been playing with an app called Oak. If you're on this call and you meditate and use an app, let us know below, comment below in Facebook. Cindy, do you use Headspace or any apps like that? And if not, when people hear that, like meditate for 5 minutes, until I used Headspace, I really didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to have my hands up like this and breathing a certain way? If you could just give people who have never meditated, either an app or your recommendation on how to tactically do that.
Well, I was the same way. For years, I kept going, I don't know how to meditate. Like, I'm a crazy person. I'm working 100 hours a week. Like, I don't know how, I can't do that. I've had so many people go, I just can't meditate. Well, we can all meditate. But the key is, yes, I think absolutely without question, start with an app. I love Calm, CALM.com. And it's a very simple app. It does have you can get it free or you can pay for an upgraded version. It's great if you're having any problems sleeping. A lot of my coaching clients are not great sleepers, so there's sleep applications for meditation. I think if you've never done it, doing an app is huge because it'll walk you through the how and it will guide you. So it's very hard to do silent meditations with our crazy monkey brains if you've not had a meditation practice. So one of my all-time favorites is still Deepak Chopra. He does his 21-day meditation challenge with Oprah. You can usually get one for free for 21 days. It's worth the investment to buy it and just keep it on your phone. They're 15 minutes, which is my favorite, to do a 15-minute meditation, and it guides you through the process. So you just have to be present. But meditation is really just about breathing. It's just focusing on your breath, your inhalation and your exhalation, and allowing your thoughts to kind of roll overhead. I always try to think of my thoughts as clouds, and you're going to have thoughts come back into your brain, and just acknowledge them and send them back to the clouds and allow them to float overhead. And it can sound all airy-fairy and silly to a lot of people that have never adopted a practice, but with the health industry and the stress-related illnesses being a $900 billion industry, it's a really important thing to focus on our health, and we don't do enough of it as originators. And I always say, guys, it's like, what are those 5 extra loans a month going to do if you're not here to enjoy them? So, I think first and foremost, we need to take our health more seriously, and bringing in gratitude as a practice, bringing in meditation as a practice. I was sharing with you, Dave, when we were chatting, that I had a really, really amazing experience, or I'm in the middle of a really amazing experience. I got asked to participate in a new movie that's coming out called The Evolution of Success. And people always say, how did this stuff happen to you? I said, I don't even know. I think because I put out so much gratitude and appreciation and meditate, and I visualize what I want in my life, professionally and personally. I do a lot with visualization and seeing it already as so. But I went to the screening of this movie in Las Vegas last week, and it's really 14 leaders that this guy interviewed. Matthew Toman is an amazing producer, and it's kind of like The Secret, but with a little bit more purpose. It's got actual steps, and so it's Matthew's 12 steps to the evolution of success, what he did to become successful. And meditation is one of the places that he started. He said it absolutely changed his life, and he's now a very successful film producer. So I'll let you know more when the movie actually gets released. It will actually do a lot for a lot of people. There's some really amazing ideas in this movie around how to move through adversity and how a lot of people really achieve success by moving really gracefully and intentionally through major challenges in their life, because we all have them. So it's a matter of how do you respond to those events in your life to create the outcome you desire.
I love it. So, hey, before we tell everybody how to get the slides and we share some closing thoughts, I want to ask you a question, because there's so many new people coming into this business. So I'm not going to pick the year, but I want you to go back to 20, 25, 30. And then I want to, what advice would you have given your younger self? And when you answer it, I'd love, again, I know I'm throwing you on the spot. You didn't prepare for this, but I'd love it to be at a point when you went from, let's just say you weren't doing everything you wanted. Think of a year where you just changed your game. What advice would you have given your younger self that would have helped you accelerate your success in life, and do it in a way that would help, the thousands of new loan officers that are coming into the space?
Oh my gosh, we could talk for an hour on just this subject. First of all, when someone hears that I grew my business to 200 million in production, we have to understand that that was an evolutionary process. That did not happen overnight. And so, when I'm coaching people and training them, I said, let's focus on how can we help you get one more loan a month? And when you're a new originator, sometimes it's how do you get your first loan, and how do you connect when you don't have a database? So one of the things that I think it's often overlooked by new originators, Dave, is look at your sphere of influence around you. You may not have realtor referral partners or business planners or CPAs, but the first database I suggest that people build are their friends and their family and anybody that's in their sphere of business. So what doctors do you go to? What dentist do you go to? Again, if your kids are in sports teams, build your database of your friends and family and begin a database management system, a CRM system. It is the single biggest way to begin to build and grow your business, even when you're new, because we all have spheres of influence. If you're a millennial, we know that, it's the largest group of home buying, population coming forth. So, reaching out to your friends. I mean, honestly, we always think they remember what we do, but they don't. So sometimes we have to remind them. But also understanding that it's about taking steps. So I'm really big on wanting to accomplish 3 things. I sort of would say I don't ever let more than 3 cars out of the garage at a time. Do things incrementally. So, if you need, decide today that you're going to contact 5 realtors, and decide that you're going to maybe utilize the strategy because you don't need any background or talent to go into a meeting and ask questions about who these people are. And I think it's fine when you're a new originator to be honest. I mean, we have to act as if we know what we're doing. But one of the things that I'm coaching a new originator right now, and he said to me, oh my gosh, they're asking me so many questions and I don't know the answer. And I said, and that's fine. But all you need to do is just say, it's a great question. I want to make sure I give you the total accurate information. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to get back to you this afternoon. It's just absolutely fine to say, I'll get back to you. So I think 1, take a breath. 2, start your database management system. Realize you're not going to know everything. If you're part of a team, latch onto that team and support the team in a big way. Get a mentor. If you're new, if you can mentor with a higher level loan originator and support them and help them, glean onto somebody else and get their advice and be able to maybe help them for a period of time is a huge way to break into the industry. I'm coaching a team right now, and he's got a new junior LO underneath his wing. So, collectively we'll bring him up before we, cast him out to the open ocean. But I think it's a matter, and get clear on what your natural greatest strengths are. You may not be the greatest closer yet. You may not be able to overcome rate objections like a master, but what are your genuine and unique gifts, and focus on those. Bring those forth. Maybe you're really good with social media and you can help a realtor get better at marketing themselves through social. Tap into a personal strength and use that as your special gift as you're building relationships.
Love it. And if you're new on this call and you need more advice, again, hopefully you're getting value. If you're watching the recording of this and you got value from it, like it, share it, and ask Cindy and I a question. We both try to stay connected. We're both committed to serving the mortgage industry, so we're here to serve. So Cindy, I have got lots of questions. One, asking for your 15 questions. I think you mentioned it. One person asked the name of the app again. The app that Cindy uses is Calm. By the way, my wife uses Calm and loves it. I use Headspace, and then I've been hearing a lot about an app called Oak. So that question is answered. So Cindy, tell everybody how they can get your slides, and I know you also have a special gift for folks. So if you could just walk us through that.
Can we move on to the next slide, Dave? So if you want to get the connection to conversion training guide, you can text into this number. You don't need to be panicked that you're going to be barraged with emails from me. I don't do that. So this is really just to get the guide. So if you want to text in, it'll come to your email inbox. The only thing I'm going to suggest to all of you is that you may want to use a personal email, because my experience is that the spam filters, as we know, for our mortgage companies are very, very great. So that's up to you. But basically, you just text to the number above, 314-720-6011. And in the text box below, just write the word success. And then, Dave, if you pop to the next slide.
For all of you that are listening to the recording, we have put the link, or not the link, but this direction down below, so you can also look in the description. Keep it rolling.
So this will just show you what you're going to get. It's just going to say, thanks for requesting my guide, and you put in your first name. Then it'll ask you for your email, and then it'll, it just takes a few minutes and it will end up in your inbox. So again, if you try your business one, you could always go back and do your personal if you don't get it. It's been tested, it works great. But this guide will help you it'll give you the training as to kind of the methodology behind this. This is kind of the mini guide. I think there's 10 of each questions. I actually have 20 in my longer training that I'm doing. I had told Dave that I am launching a new training for the first time starting June 19th called 90-Day Jumpstart to Mortgage Success. Most of my coaching programs have been expensive and very high level, and I keep getting calls from people that really want some of the information, really want guidance, new originators, people that are mid-tier producers wanting to take it up a notch. So I decided to do an all-group program, but I'm really excited, and we're going to do 2 calls a month. The calls are going to be live. They're going to be interactive. We're going to have Q&A, so they're not pre-recorded calls. You get me and some other leaders, which will be great. It'll be a call every other week for 3 months, and I decided to do a pilot. Since this is the first one, you guys can be part of my test group. I was going to roll this out at about $2,000 when I first decided to do it, and I'll probably do that in the fall. But for this first group, the price point is $897 or 2 payments of $497. There is a discount code on this slide. We'll make sure you get it. If you put in, it's 90-Day Jumpstart to Mortgage Success is the actual website you can go to. If you check out with the code that is 90-Day100, it'll take an extra $100 off for the Mortgage Coach community. And I would love to have you join me on this call. I think, to be able to work with you one-on-one and help you take it to the next level, whatever that looks like for you. For a lot of you, it may be about how to manage a team. How do you hire the right person? How do you manage, develop a team? As a lot of people ask questions about that. How do you manage your time? Number one question. People are busy, but they're not productive. So getting you really clear on how to manage your day. so that you're actually focused on, revenue generating activities. But my commitment is that, I just figure if you can do one more loan from this training, but better off if you can do one more loan a month. And to my point, I learned how to do one more loan a month, like 20 different times, and that's what created my incremental evolution of success. And I'm just really passionate about helping you do the same. So my belief, heart is what separates the good from the great. It's easy to stay as originators in our headspace and in our thinking brains and our logical brains. But, sometimes the greatest gift in building our business is to understand that we've got to work on ourselves. I did, as Dave knows, probably 15 years worth of personal development training. I trained with Jack Canfield, who wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, for a year with 100 trainers from around the world in 2009. And that really, really shifted me, and it helped me get a greater understanding of, we got to work on ourselves. Tony Robbins talks about that. It's the single biggest thing we can do is to invest in ourselves, and we will get the greatest rate of return, not just in our business, but in our life.
Love it, Cindy. You have crushed it. We do have a lot of questions that have come in, so I am going to do my best to represent some of those questions. One question came in from a loan officer where he said, how do we keep the train on the track with the realtor who, they're just used to, what are your rates? What are your programs? And when you're getting pushed by the agent, you're trying to have this emotional relationship-oriented call, but they're pushing you to talk about programs and rates. Walk us through how you keep the train on the track.
We just need to educate them candidly. Even our clients call and say, I just want your rates. And it's like, well, rate is important, and we need to talk about rates without question, because we want to make sure you get the best rate. But at the end of the day, it's a bigger conversation, and we have to educate our realtors around that too. We need a lot of information before we can even quote a rate that means anything. So I inform realtors that if you're calling a lender and they're just giving you their rates, they're not giving you accurate information, because our rates are determined based on, down payment, FICO score, loan to value, DTI. I mean, there's like 25 different things that actually contribute to the rate conversation. So, I really tell them that I'd be doing you a disservice. I used to have a realtor that she would call me. She would never give me access to her clients. And she just wanted me to give her my rates. And I finally went and met with her face to face. And I just said, Audrey, I have to just be honest with you. Like, you're doing such a disservice to your clients, because I want to be able to give them the best rate and the best price. But I also need to be able to know their story. I need to know what I'm dealing with here. I want to be able to guide them, because, gosh, I could in about 15 minutes determine that I could maybe help them pop their FICO score up, by doing some work around their credit over the course of the next week, and take them to a whole different level of qualification and a much better rate. So I'd really like you to give me the benefit of having a 10-minute conversation with your borrowers, so that I can educate them around, what we need to do to make sure we're getting them the best rate. It's a bigger conversation. So I really educate them. And a lot of times people, they want to answer the question, and the reality is our responsibility is to educate the realtor on all the documentation that we need to be able to accurately quote the rate. And if not, give them a range. I used to quote ranges. Your rate's going to be between 4.5% and 5% based on the qualifications that we determine from having the conversation with your borrower.
So I hope everybody caught that, where Cindy actually entered the world of constructive tension. And actually, and I believe it, you said it like you said it, you're actually doing your client a disservice, and then education. And I have found that the best of the best, they do that. They're not, yes, they want to be liked, but they want to lead. They want to do what's right. And they're not afraid to have constructive tension to get to that leadership point. Whereas loan officers that struggle, it's like, I'm a people pleaser. And again, it's okay to be a people pleaser. It's okay to want to be liked. But if you do it at the sacrifice of leadership, and at the sacrifice of not entering that realm of constructive tension, you're missing an opportunity. So Cindy, a lot of people have blown up questions in different ways around this, because rate shopping is so prevalent. Everybody's getting rate shopped more than ever. The word I hear all the time is the compression wars. So we're having the compression wars in our space. Any advice you have for loan officers to, whether it's scripting, questions, obviously Mortgage Coach is part of it, but any advice you have to reduce, well, let's not reduce rate shopping, to win when we get into that rate shopping war. Any advice that you have for the community on that?
Absolutely, and it's coming up a lot, as we know. It's been a huge issue over the last few months. So, I mean, there's many things depending upon the circumstance. The beauty of being an originator for so many years is we can pull from experience. So a lot of times I tell stories through experience. So my own partner had a deal just a couple of months ago where the guy left midstream in the middle of the loan and went to a major bank for 3/8 better in rate right in the middle of his loan. And of course, it was devastating because Stephanie had worked with him for almost 6 months to get him in a place where he could actually buy this home. So that's very tough. But, unfortunately for him, 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, he actually lost his house because the bank didn't approve his loan in a timely manner. And there was a backup offer for more money, and he lost the house. And he came back to my partner, and of course, with his tail between his legs, and apologized and said he would never leave again. But I mean, I do tell that story to someone that's shopping. The other thing that I would really encourage you, and even if you're new, and a lot of people that are newer aren't comfortable doing this, but just the other night, my partner called me at home one night. She says, oh my gosh, this guy, I've been working with him forever. I had to get his FICO score up. He's made offers on 3 homes. She spent so much time, same story. He bailed to go to a major bank for a quarter better in rate. And so, we talked through strategically what to do to win the client back. And I think it's important to actually call the client, we call the realtor first, and explain to the realtor the level of detail and care that went into getting that client to a place where he could actually purchase a home, which was way more valuable than a 0.25% in rate, because he wouldn't have the opportunity for home ownership had we not done the work to get him there. So we called the realtor and reminded the realtor of exactly what we did. Then she called the client and walked the client through exactly what we had done to get them to the place where they could actually purchase this home. Not to mention the fact we helped to get him secured by calling the listing agent and letting him know he was totally pre-approved and didn't need a loan contingency. So, but I was really, really proud of her because she won that deal back last week. And without going to that level, so many people just walk away, they think they've lost. Do not give up. If you're in that rate conversation and people are going away, that's when we actually really need to sell. We need to sell our value. I always tell people, for years, my analogy was, look, I don't go to a GP if I have a heart problem. We're talking about, one of the biggest investments of your life. And you got referred to me, Mr. Borrower, for a reason. Your realtor referred you because they trust me. They know we're going to close the deal, and we have 100% close rate on my team. We have never submitted a loan to underwriting that hasn't closed, and that's valuable for you. We're going to walk you through the process. We're going to manage your loan for a lifetime. This is a long-term life relationship that we're creating with you, and we bring value. So you got referred to us, Mr. Borrower, for a reason. We're your heart surgeon.
So by the way, Cindy and her team, they can only show up like that because that's how they roll. I mean, everything they do is 4 seasons experience. They are delivering the total cost analysis. They are helping people get into home ownership by working with families for 3 months and doing it effectively. So it's easy, well, it's not easy. It's easier. But if you are a loan officer and you don't have a perfect loan process that's well defined, you aren't delivering that type of experience, you just can't show up the same. So, no doubt. The other thing I would just say is that, Cindy's presence and the relationship that they create and her team creates is a major differentiator. All the best loan officers, and if you listen to my interviews on rate shopping, they are emotionally connecting. They are delivering 5-star service. And then in today's market, Jeremy said it best, counter moves. You're going to take a punch, have a counter move, and be that fighter. Fight with the realtor, fight with the borrower, don't give up. And, we will lose a few, but we'll lose a whole lot less. Absolutely. Cindy, you've been amazing. Everybody, let us know what you thought of today's interview. You know, did it surpass your expectations with value? Good takeaways. If you're a guest on this call and you're not on the Mortgage Coach team and you want to get a demo, click the last option. Cindy, you knocked it out of the park.
Oh,
Great
thank
reviews.
you. So great to be here. Have a great one, you guys.
And last one, everybody, remember, text down below, like you're watching the recording, we gave you the text number. Get on Cindy's list, get those questions. And by the way, sign up for her program. I mean, I interview Cindy because I know the value that we spend together, whether it's a 20-minute interview, an hour, is valuable. But getting into one of her programs and really engaging is where the value really goes off the charts. So sign up. Take care, Cindy. Appreciate you.
Bye, guys.
See you at Mastermind, by the way.
Absolutely.
Hope to see other people. Yeah, take care.